Okay. Alright, so I just went to go see 3,000 Years of Longing at a Cleveland cinema. A Cleveland cinema with my Marquee Rewards card. So, I do have a lot to say about the movie now. Well, basically, I went to go see it today in this outfit. Charlie XCX head to toe, apparently, my bad. And it was in a Cleveland movie theater, a Cleveland cinema rewards card marquee thing. Like, I got to use my rewards card for it. So that was a good plus for me too. Enough about me though. Basically, the movie. So 3,000 Years of Longing is a new Monsterf-er flick starring Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, who is not Gwen Stefani. It is, the plot of the movie is essentially that Tilda Swinton goes to Turkey for a storytelling conference, or a narratology conference, which I think is the science study of telling stories, specifically those written down, or folklore. That could have been explained more, in my opinion, but I'll chalk it up to me being stupid. She's in Istanbul for that very reason. And she gets a lamp, whatever, she opens the lamp, oh my god, it was a bottle. Anyway, I'm so used to saying that genies come out of lamps, but this is actually a djinn. So this djinn is hidden in a bottle. She gets the bottle, she loves it, she's being beckoned to. She's being beckoned to, in fact, by not only someone at the airport who had a squished head, and I say that, but I'm not sure if it's like the person's truth that they're living, the actor's truth that is being lived outside of the film, or if it was a practical makeup effect. But regardless, I found the head interesting. So props to that. But going forward from there, she is giving a speech on stage at this narratology conference, and I don't really know what to make of it because there's this incredibly like haunting white specter in the crowd, and you think to yourself, that will be important later. It's not, but I think that it could be, because the movie is really lived in. And I think that lived in means specifically when the world has a lot of details that leave you with questions that don't get answered. But that, I'm saying that with all respect and all love. Like, I liked the movie a lot. Okay, so Tilda Swinton is seeing this specter while she's giving a speech. She faints, and then she wakes up and she goes to the Grand Bazaar with a friend, a colleague, and the colleague buys her the bottle because she insists that she wants the bottle. She goes back to the hotel and she, you know, like sort of massages the bottle, opens it, the top pops off of the bottle, and Genie Idris Elba pops out. And he can only speak Greek, ancient, I believe, due to his age. And he's a genie. He's a djinn, and he's been stuck in there for a long time. Anyway, but he learns English pretty quickly because he just like osmosis abducts knowledge from books and things like that, like TV. He understood English because I guess even though they're in Turkey, the TV is in English. I don't know, my trip to Turkey in 2020 got canceled hardcore, so I never been. So that was fun for me. I would say that was probably the favorite part of the movie, that I was living out my Turkish little vacation I was supposed to take, but I never wound up taking it. Yeah. So Genie's here. The djinn is here. Oh my god. The djinn is here, and Tilda Swinton is mesmerized. She is so mesmerized. Idris Elba, of course, radiates like a chemistry that you really can't replicate. Like, he was a good casting choice for this in a huge way. But he cooks her like a beautiful breakfast that like I think anybody would fawn over, and he's like, I need your wish, and she's like, well, I know all your tricks because I study stories, and djinn are in stories. You won't trick me. That's what she said. It was great. And basically it turns into a long thing. We learn a lot about his past, and in one of his past lives, it's actually his immortal life, but I'm treating them like reincarnations, because I think they said that maybe once. Nope. They used the word incarceration because he went to jail. Jail as in prison, as in the bottle, which he compares to being close to death. So I don't really know what this movie is saying, if it's making a statement about carceral policy across the world. I'm not going to give it that much credit, but it was a lot of fun to watch, so I will continue to talk about it. But Tilda Swinton, yeah, he makes her breakfast. It was great. We learn a lot about him. And in his, before he was incarcerated for the first time, we see the white spectral figure in the court of one of the queens that he was with. So that was weird, right? You would think that maybe we would delve a little bit more into that, but you'd be wrong. And we learned that Jin can have babies with humans, but their offspring can't reproduce. But here's the thing, I'm not sure if the offspring can't reproduce or if the offspring are mortal despite the immortal parent. I think it could have been a metaphor that was just like really sneakily woven in, so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take that as fact or as a metaphor. Regardless, we then learn that Tilda Swinton's character, who has a name that starts with an A and isn't Amelie, but is like Artutini. Let's call her Artutini. So Artutini, we learn that she had a boyfriend and maybe a fiance, actually a husband. It was actually her husband. She had a husband, an ex-husband, and they had a child, in the sense that there was a fetus, a pregnancy, if you will, and she lost the baby. Aw, sad. That's really sad. A lot of people go through that, and that's just not fun. But I do think that we're supposed to gather that due to that information, if we're to believe that hybrids of Jinn and humans cannot reproduce, Tilda Swinton apparently is having issues conceiving a child and carrying a pregnancy to term. I'm not sure if that's related. I don't know if they're trying to say that Tilda Swinton was half Jinn here, because we know that her parents are dead. So, fuck it, we'll never know. But I thought that was a really interesting plot thread left open, because the only other thing we have to identify Jinn hybrids with is a very hairy legs. It's very hairy legs. So that was cool. Anyway, approximately like halfway through the movie, Tilda Swinton has a very abrupt change of heart. She was very skeptical of this Jinn, Idris Elba, despite his effortless charm and aptitude for cuisine, specifically breakfast. She walks up to him and says, "I know what my wish is. I need you to fuck me." I'm paraphrasing. But I thought that was a really fun character shift that made a lot of sense given the chemistry Idris Elba had with the camera. Oh wow, it was great. But she's like, "Okay, well, I have to go back to London, babes. Sorry, I have to go back to London, please, come with me." He goes back to London with her, and we get an incredibly interesting sequence of events. So Tilda Swinton finds him recombobulating. We find out that he's electromagnetic radiation. I mean, who isn't? Every good Monsterf-er movie needs to talk about electromagnetic radiation. Period. So that was cool. But the thing that made no sense was when he re-assimilated into his form, his corporeal form, in London, he says, "It's very loud here." And he looks at the cell phone tower and he says, blah, blah, blah. And then about 2 or 4 scenes later, he's like, "There's so much here. I need to go back where there is none of this," which implies that in modern day Istanbul, where we see technology being used, there is no television or cell phone service. So I found that really inconsistent, to say the least. It was a little confusing. I'm not sure what that was about, because I don't think there were any hints that Idris Elba was ill due to radiation sickness in Istanbul. If he is weakened by radiation, go somewhere where there isn't radiation. People live in fucking caves, Tilda Swinton. Go live in a cave. Have you thought about living in the Green Bank area of West Virginia? It's a big square where there's no cell service, or so I hear. Go there, maybe, and have fun with your lover. Your magic lover. Anyway, he is eventually like done in by the electromagnetic radiation. I don't think anybody was surprised due to the fact that that's his being and it's suddenly all through it. It's like, I don't know, a water elemental living in the ocean. But honestly, that sounds like heaven. I'm pretty sure that Idris Elba was being dramatic in this movie, but that's okay. So Tilda Swinton is like, I set you free, here's my last wish, like, I need you to go be yourself and be happy and be safe and be healthy. Jin, sorry. I love you, Jin. Go be safe, be healthy. Goodbye. And she puts all of this stuff in a box, which is what she did with the ex-husband. And at this point, I was like, I'm pretty sure she killed the ex-husband and she's keeping those effects in the box as a memento. More on that later. But yeah, because it's like, she set them both free, I guess. That's okay. That's a fair reading as well. But he comes back 3 years later as she's finishing the story that is actually the movie. It's like a whole metatextual story. And he comes back 3 years later, meets her in a park, and it doesn't even look like Earth even a little bit. It looks like some magical planet where everybody is just British. And maybe that's what London's like. I haven't been there in a while. It was weird, and he comes back, and she's like, and he can't take it too long, but he takes it long enough, and he leaves long after I begged him to, and he comes back. So my reading of that was that clearly London is a first adapter of 5G technologies. Maybe this movie is about 5G and mind control, because maybe Istanbul doesn't have 5G, but London has 5G, and that's why Jin can't take it. So I think that this was actually 5G QAnon. This was 5G QAnon propaganda, perhaps, but it was all in all a very colorful and fun movie that I would watch again. Huh.